Welcome to the SweatSimple podcast. I'm Brooks, and I'm an online fitness, nutrition, and mindset coach who's here to help you learn how to eat and exercise for real life, not just those perfect moments. Because let's be real, there is a lot of conflicting information online, and it can be hard to know what's legit and who to trust. In every episode, I'll be sharing the science and psychology behind health, fitness, and long-lasting behavior change, but I'll also be sharing practical, real-life application because all of the best info in the world only matters if you can apply it to your real life. So grab a coffee, water, glass of wine, or lace up your walking shoes, and let's dive in. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the SweatSimple podcast. I am so excited because today we are talking about one of my favorite topics, cognitive flexibility. And if you don't know, cognitive flexibility is basically the opposite of all or nothing thinking. And that is why I am so excited for this episode, because I know you guys, I know how many of you fall deep into that all or nothing thinking trap. So this podcast is going to be a game changer. So with cognitive flexibility, basically, instead of thinking about things as very black and white, all or nothing, you're able to adjust or adapt your thoughts. So it might be better adapting to situations. It might be updating previous beliefs that you had. It might be resisting the urge to act on emotions. So it's truly just bringing more nuance and bringing more gray as opposed to being so black and white. Because if you guys didn't know, all or nothing thinking is one of the biggest predictors of weight regain. So adapting more cognitive flexibility is crucial to your success. I just did an entire workshop on this for my one-on-one coaching clients because it is so important. And it makes sense that all or nothing thinking is a weight regain predictor, because if we're either all in or we're all out, we're not going to be very consistent long term. Like if we're either being 100% perfect or we're doing nothing at all, how are we supposed to be consistent? Because that isn't really that's not life. Like life is never going to be perfect. We are never going to be able to be all in. And you might have noticed this pattern for yourself. Like you're able to be all in for a few days or for a week, but you can't do that long term. So if you're always going to the nothing as opposed to the all, we're not going to make much progress. The diet industry loves all or nothing thinking. They love thinking about food as good or bad, labeling foods as things that you should or shouldn't eat, making food rules that you have to follow. And honestly, our brains really like it too, which is why most of us fall into that all or nothing thinking pattern. We like to say, our brains, like the main goal of our brain is to conserve energy and simplify things. So our brains love to say, these are foods that I can eat. These are foods that I can't eat. These are foods that are good. These are foods that are bad. So something like Whole30 is really tempting because it's like, I just have to follow this list of foods, and everything that's not on this list of foods, I just don't eat. That's really easy. That's easy for our brain to understand. Our brain likes that simplification. It is conserving energy. It is the path of least resistance. So like that is our brain's gold star. But none of that allows for flexibility or real life to happen, which is why these diets haven't worked for you in the past. Likely, I tried Whole30 like back in my disordered eating days in my early 20s. It was terrible. Like that is why you are having a hard time making progress and you're having a hard time being consistent, because this black or white thinking that the diet industry loves to push us into, it doesn't allow for that flexibility. It doesn't allow us to live and enjoy life. And it is so possible to lose fat while we're also still enjoying life, while we're going out to eat, while we're getting ice cream with our kids. But in order to do that and not feel like we're messing up when we do, we need to cultivate more cognitive flexibility. And right now, all or nothing thinking might be popping up in places that you don't even realize. It could look like your relationship with food. So like I said, if you are thinking about foods as good or bad, That's all or nothing thinking. If you skip entire workouts, if you can't do the whole thing, like you don't think that 20 minutes of a 45-minute workout is worth it, or you don't think that going out and walking for 5 minutes is worth it, you feel like you have to do the whole 30, that's all or nothing thinking. If you think that being over your calories by any amount is bad and you throw in the towel as soon as you're over by like 5 calories, that's all or nothing thinking. So, like, 5 calories is the same as being over by 500 calories, all or nothing thinking. If you throw in the towel when you can't track something perfectly, like say you're going out to eat and you're like, well, I can't track this perfectly. So, you know what? Who cares? I'm just not going to track it and I'm going to order what I want and I'll start again tomorrow. That's all or nothing thinking. If you feel like you quote unquote mess up, so maybe you had a cookie when you said you weren't going to, or you feel like you ate something on that list of foods that you have that you shouldn't eat. If you do one of those things and you just completely throw in the towel because you feel like you messed up and you want to start again tomorrow, that's all or nothing thinking. And I know you guys, because you guys are where I was at my own fitness journey 10 years ago. You're probably all nodding along right now saying, yeah, this is me, or like, yeah, I know this. But you also might be realizing that this way of thinking isn't setting you up for long-term success. It's not helping you stay consistent in the moment. So let's like take an example here to start to think about how we could think about things differently. So your friend invites you to happy hour unexpectedly. If you were to fall into all or nothing thinking, you might say, okay, well, my original plan's a bust, so I give up. I wasn't expecting to have this happy hour, so I'm just gonna like throw in the towel. I'm gonna have a couple drinks. I'm gonna enjoy the apps with her. I'm probably gonna get a meal there, and I'll just start over tomorrow. That might be how you're currently approaching these things right now. But if you have cognitive flexibility, you might say, when that happy hour invite pops up, you might say, okay, what could I still control in this situation? All right, well, I wasn't expecting this and I really didn't feel like drinking tonight, but you know what? A glass of wine does sound good. So maybe I'll have one glass of wine. And you know what? I was going to have this chicken for dinner. So, what could I order at happy hour that's still like similar ish in calories to what I was going to eat at home? Okay. And how could I adjust portion sizes so that I'm leaving happy hour still feeling really good? Notice the big difference. Notice how instead of, well, I'm throwing in the towel, I'll start over tomorrow, these plans popped up. It's okay, what can I still control? What about this situation could still be in line with my goals? Can I choose what's on my plate? Can I choose how many drinks I have? Basically, how can I still be successful even though things aren't going as my normal plan? The second, with more cognitive flexibility, as I'm sure you could imagine, is going to allow you to be a lot more successful long term. So, how do we get to this place? How do we cultivate more cognitive flexibility? How do we go from only thinking in all or nothing, black and white, to finding more of this gray, to feeling like we can adapt to these situations? This is something I help my coaching clients with all day long, and it's actually pretty individual depending on the situation and what works for you. But I'm going to give you one strategy to take away and start working on, because this is going to really help you start to think about and notice where you're falling into all or nothing thinking, and you might not even realize it. So, one of my favorite things to start to think with more nuance, to start to build more cognitive flexibility, is I want you to start to think about things on a scale. And let's go back to that relationship with food. So, right now, you have foods that are good and you have foods that are bad. So, our foods that are good, let's say they're a 10 on the 0 to 10 scale. And then your foods that are bad are a 0 on the 0 out of 10 scale. So, right now, you might be saying, okay, ice cream is a 0 food. Okay, what food would be a 10? And you might say, okay, well, a salad is a 10. So then I'm going to ask you what food would be a 5. And you're like, ooh, I don't know. What would fall into a 5? If all food is good or bad, what could be a 5? And you might say something like, well, I think that like chicken parm might be a 5. Okay, why is chicken parm a 5? Well, there's like protein on there and protein's pretty good, but then there's also like cheese and cheese. I don't know, is cheese bad? See how you're starting to think about things differently? It's not just good or bad, there's a little bit more nuance. And then, so ice cream was a 0, but let's say that your friend brought you ice cream for your birthday and it was your favorite ice cream that you only have once a year. Would that still be a full 0 out of 0? You should never eat it? And you might start to think, well, if it's my birthday, no, like I'm gonna have the ice cream. My friend got it for me. Like ice cream on your birthday, that's not bad. Okay, so if ice cream's not always a 0 out of 10 terrible food, does that mean maybe it's not so bad after all? See how we're just starting to bring more nuance and gray to the situation? We're starting to look at foods differently and we're starting to realize that it doesn't need to be black and white. You're starting to challenge your brain to think about things in a different way. And yeah, this feels more difficult because you're technically using up more energy. It's not the simplest way to classify these foods, but when it comes to health and fitness, it is necessary in order to be successful long term. So, my challenge to you is to, if you notice those thoughts popping up over the weekend, over the next few days, and you find yourself calling a food bad, I want you to do the scaling exercise and say, okay, in this situation, would the food still be bad? Okay, what food would be a 5? Where does this fall on the scale? And just start to see if you can bring more nuance, more gray to this, as opposed to just always thinking about things in black and white. Because if we want to be successful with fat loss long term, we need to develop more cognitive flexibility and we need to start to ditch that all or nothing thinking. So that's all I've got for you guys this week. If you have any questions on how to really continue to cultivate cognitive flexibility and not fall into that all or nothing thinking, shoot me a DM. I would love to chat about it with you a little bit more. Don't forget, if you share this episode on your stories or you leave a podcast review, I pick one person every single month to win a personalized fat loss blueprint with me. If you guys have questions, comments, let me know. Otherwise, I am so excited to chat with you next week, and I'll talk to you soon.